Aloha kako. Today I would like to share an excerpt from my self-published book, Huaka'ipō, Up Pi'i Lava Point. Hopefully it will inspire you in acquiring your very own copy to see the outcome of this paranormal tale set in Hawaii. Sit back and enjoy.
Within the next couple of weeks, things had gotten pretty routine at camp. All of the children were having a great time with their leaders as they taught the young ones all they had to impart. Len took notice of little Miss Mercy, a nickname the girl earned when Len shared that it was his mom's name too, clinging to Yvonne at every step like a Siamese twin. Mercy would even change her facial expressions to match Yvonne's tone as she spoke with the other members of their group. It brought back memories of his interactions with Kavika and how he often stayed close to him. It wasn't necessarily because Kavika was his only friend. Len had lots of pals. It was mostly because, at that time, Kavika was someone he felt filled a need in his life. John walked over and bumped Len. "Something on your mind?" Len snapped out of his contemplation, responding with a single name. "Kavika." The head camp leader looked down and shared a heavy breath. "I know part of the reason you requested to work here was to get some closure. Heck, I'd do the same thing if I had that opportunity." John thought about how he had always wanted to tell Len's mother how he felt about her. Then he wondered if Len could see that he had a deep interest in Mercy. "I hope I haven't done anything or not done anything to strain our relationship in the past, Len." The young man turned to his boss and friend. "What do you mean?" "Well, I know what happened all those years ago has scared you. Heck, it scared me too." John tilted his gaze at his subordinate. "I wish I could have done more that night, that summer. If I weren't so involved in trying to impress Kavika, I probably would have seen the signs of that Padrina kid." John exhaled. "That was my first year as a counselor. I saw how Kavika had the camp running like a well-oiled machine. It was impressive to me. He commanded respect from his team and the campers. Well, you know firsthand. Anyway, I'm sorry that I couldn't be there more for you during that time." Len could see that John also cared a lot for him as well. He wrapped his arm across his boss's back to show how much he appreciated John too. "You saved us that night. Me and Brandon and the others. You took care of the whole cabin. It was a lot to ask for your first camp leader gig." "My first job, actually." John pat Len on his back. "My perspective on the innocence of children changed that day. That Seth kid was enormous for a 12-year-old. Len snorted. He had the mind of a 4-year-old, though. "Yeah, a psychotic 4-year-old. John tried to make the mood lighter. Len's eye was caught by Brandon, watching them from the cereal table. "So why did you decide to work camp this summer? And why on earth did you take him on as a leader?" John looked at the Alberts boy and spoke without moving his lips too much. "We needed the help, first of all. That, and I hope his age would have brought some maturity out of him. In all honesty, I'm not sure why he even chose to come out and apply. I thought perhaps you both were cool after all this time, and maybe you squashed all the drama in school. You know, became friends after all of it." "Friends with him? He still accuses me of not telling the police the truth, and holds it against me till today." Len winced. "Besides, I haven't seen Brandon since that night all those years ago anyways. As far as I know, he didn't go to Lunalilo with me. I have no idea where he's been all this time." John expressed concern with an unsettled look. "He didn't graduate from Lunalilo? His application says different." "Never seen him anywhere on campus, and I was everywhere on that campus." Len looked back over at Yvonne and Mercy. "Maybe we just never crossed paths during our time in high school. He was a couple years ahead of me." Len wanted to see the best in Brandon. "He's been a pretty big help this past week, though, and he hasn't said anything offensive to me when we were together. I mean, nothing like before. His brother wasn't a very good role model for him, but his family life was hell, I hear." John shook his head. "Len, you have patience and integrity. You being able to work with Brandon without having talked to him about that night is commendable. I'm sorry that I didn't have a chance to check on you two. Maybe I should speak with him and see if he's all right. I know his brother was very important to him. He was more like his father, really. Well," John dusted the breast of his uniform and realized he was offering too much information when it came to Brandon's personal life. You could probably gather exactly what his life was like at home. Len didn't want to think about the Alberts. That family had tormented his existence long enough. Now that Len was trying to move past all this and let it go from his life, Brandon decides that it would be a good time to step back in. His thoughts went from self-concern to mindful. Maybe it's a sign. Maybe this is my chance to get closure on Brandon, apologize and wipe the entire slate clean. As Len watched the Albert's boy pouring milk into a bowl for a camper, he saw Brandon's face shift for a brief moment into Burden's as he looked straight into Len's eyes. His heart skipped a beat. The look he received brought him back to the first night at camp, all those years ago when Burden gave him the death stare. John's voice ricocheted off the walls in the dining room. Group C has KP. Everyone else get ready to go down to the water. Standing by the lakeshore, wearing bright rainbow-colored surf shorts with his uniform top, John stood facing the campers. We will be conducting swimming tests to see how capable all of you are in the water. Counselor Paula's group, follow me to the dock. As Group D followed John and Paula like a line of ducklings, Yvonne wandered over to Len, while the group sat patiently on the shore. So you two were having a pretty deep conversation this morning. What's that all about? Len's eyes squinted from the sunlight reflecting off the wet surface. John and me? Nah, it was stuff from a long time ago. Nothing important. Len's hands flicked outward as if dusting off a city table. Yvonne had a sneaking suspicion that her fellow mentor was holding out on some very juicy information. So, you and John, you guys go way back, huh? Len smiled. I came to this camp once before when I was little. In fact, it was John's first year as a leader. Wait. Yvonne slapped Len in the arm. You were here during Uncle John's first summer as a camp counselor? Yeah? Wait, John's your uncle? Len was in shock. Sorta, kinda. Yvonne flew past Len's question and asked, So, you were here when that head counselor was murdered by that psychopath, Seth Padrina? What does psychopath mean? Little Miss Mercy stared up innocently at Yvonne. Len stretched his mouth as Yvonne bent over to share a word. Look, Mercy, I'm going to need you to watch what Counselor John is doing with the others so you're ready when it's your turn, okay? Mercy's face reflected the sun as she bounced it up and down. Got it. Len rubbed his chin as Yvonne sat Mercy between two older girls, Shauna and Shailene. So how exactly is John your uncle? You two don't even look anything alike. He wanted to comprehend the relation. My mom married his older brother after she got divorced from my real dad. Yvonne blurted her family history in a second and pressed Len again about the terrifying summer of '74. You gotta share what you've seen or what you know about that summer, dude. Uncle John still refuses to talk to me about it. Len smirked. You have a very dark mind, Yvonne. He could see that the sun had changed her once brown eyes to a neon green. Besides her freckles, it was another thing Len noticed about Yvonne that he found quite attractive. Give me the details, dude, Yvonne begged. Len's mind knew one story, but reality expected him to accept another. He thought, if I want to scare this girl away from me, I should be honest with what happened. Len's face showed a desperate struggle. He didn't want her to think he was a complete nut. He looked up at the clear blue sky and exhaled. I can't bring myself to lie to her. If I want to build a friendship with Yvonne, I should be completely honest with her. I'll share what I saw, what I really saw. He looked back at Yvonne's pleasant face and became lost in her emerald green pools. He felt as light as air, and the fervor made his stomach a little queasy. Yvonne grew a bit uncomfortable by Len's admiration, and she broke eye contact with him. Embarrassed, her cheeks reddened as she smiled toward the lake. Hey, ladies! Brandon cut the silence of the pair's intimate moment. I hope I'm interrupting. He sprayed his finger at the water's edge and his group sat without a word. Gloom hung on each of the children's faces in Brandon's troop. Yvonne looked over at the kids splashing around in the water. Happy to see your group made it for testing. Brandon chortled and moved his attention toward Len. Remember the first time we came to the dock? Ellen. The Alberts boy added a catcall inflection to the way he said Len's name. We didn't do any kind of testing back in the day. They just threw us all in the lake and watched for the kids who nearly drowned. Right, girlie? Len grit his teeth as he thought about the girl that flew into the water during the tour with Kavika. Yvonne's mouth fell open. You both came to camp together? Her eyes flashed in Brandon's direction. Len's face changed. He knew that if she got the story from Brandon, his version could paint him in an unsavory light. Before he could say anything, John's voice cut through the air. Group A, you're up. Yvonne called to her troop while little Miss Mercy hopped up and jabbed her thumb at the boardwalk to inspire the urgency in her peers. Ooh hoo hoo, looks like Yvonne wants to get to know me a bit better. Brandon grinned deviously. Man, Yvonne looks like a fun one, doesn't she? He stopped to eye Len's reaction and laughed out loud. Len's group turned to see what was so funny, mirroring the look on their leader's face. What? Brandon yelled as he gave the bug eye to Len's group. Yup, fun times. What the heck am I talking about? You're not a dyke, are you, Luscious? Brandon slapped downward, hitting Len in his right nipple. Ah! Len flinched. Oh! Did I touch your tender vittles, sweetie? Len scowled at Brandon as he grew annoyed by his inappropriate chatting. Alright, that's enough already, man. Jeez. Brandon's mouth fell open with his tongue wagging. Oh, how insensitive of me. I didn't know it was that time of the month, Ellen. Len turned his attention back to the lake. Unable to get a rise out of his rival, Brandon stood up, appearing bored of their interaction. As Yvonne jotted notes on a clipboard, logging her kid's swimming ability, Brandon invested his gaze back toward the young female counselor. Ripe. Len watched one of the boys from his group glaring up at Brandon with a dirty look. He huffed and scolded him once more. Enough, Brandon. Enough? I'll tell you when it's enough. Brandon paced over the sand. My brother didn't deserve to be remembered as a coward. You were the one being a complete baby, following your boyfriend everywhere he went and crying to him every time we would breathe. John could see that Brandon was not happy about being there on the shore with Len. He decided to step in. Group C, get ready. Brandon flicked his arm toward the dock, signifying to his team to make their way over to the deck. This conversation is not over, girlie. Andy, wearing a buttoned-up collar and slacks, sat on the ground applying more sunscreen to his already lotion-saturated face. That guy's a real weirdie. Aren't we all a little weird? Len bounced his eyebrows at the inappropriately dressed boy. Hey, you let me know if he ever says anything strange to you guys, okay? His team nodded in response. Len looked back at the dock and watched as a group of girls screamed, Ew! The children created a huddle in the center of the pier as Yvonne fought her way into the mass of laughing teenagers. During the commotion, Len witnessed a fluorescent orange form flying off the other side of the wooden deck, screaming as it crashed into the water. Stay here! Len shouted to his group as he sprinted to the child who was in danger. As Len approached the point of impact, he saw a pair of pale arms sinking to the bottom of the lake. Len dove into the icy waters and within seconds resurfaced with little Miss Mercy cradled in his arm. Mercy! Yvonne ran over to the start of the dock and into the pond to help Len bring her little buddy to shore. Oh my God! Mercy, are you all right, baby? Yvonne took hold of the young one as she coughed up water from her mouth and nose. Shailene, run up ahead and tell Counselor Pat what happened. We'll be right behind you. Shauna helped Yvonne rush Mercy up the hill to see Counselor Pat at the infirmary. Len turned around and saw Brandon standing on the dock smiling just as his brother did when he saw Burden toss the other girl from the dock, nearly killing her. Why did you do that? Len pushed Brandon in the shoulder, spinning him around, revealing his smug face. Brandon swiped at Len's hands. Do what? Hey. John was pulling himself out of the lake to take control of the situation. Len screamed, Why did you toss Mercy off the dock? The children looked on in a state of shock. Here we go again, the blame game. How dare you accuse me of throwing poor defenseless little Mercy into the lake? Why would I ever do something like that to a child who can't swim? Brandon stared deep into Len's eyes. It was an accident. She just fell in. This was the same thing that happened when we came here as kids. Your brother and Seth tossed that innocent girl off the deck and she drowned. Len could see the anger growing on Brandon's face. Don't you ever talk about my brother or my friends like that. You keep them out of your damn mouth. John hopped between the young men as they were about to throw hands. He struggled to separate them. When he did, his voice was louder than when he used the megaphone. Both of you, knock it off. He pushed Brandon with a tight grip of his shirt in hand. Len, did you see Brandon throw Mercy into the lake? Not exactly, but it must have been him. They did it before. Len gnashed his teeth as tears began to run down his already wet face. Mr. John? Everyone froze to look at a source of a soft, young voice. Sam, the slender boy who always appeared very unenthusiastic, stared in the direction of the three men. Mr. Brandon couldn't have hurt Mercy. He was standing next to me on the dock. John placed his fist on his hips. You sure? The skinny child nodded. Yeah. He was the one helping me pull my swimming trunks back up. That's when everyone turned to see who was screaming. John bounced his head in understanding. Okay. He grabbed Brandon's shoulder. Take your group back to the gathering place for games. Stay inside until I come get you. I don't appreciate being accused by this trash, John. Brandon's tone was furious. Okay. John pat Brandon's shoulder. Go and take your group. I'll speak with Len. Len watched Brandon leaving the lake, taking with him his squad and any chance of reconciliation. He threw his hands in the air and blew out a deep breath. Len could already see a word forming on John's mouth, and he decided to preemptively halt the lecture. It's just that I saw his brother and Seth do the same exact move the very first day we came out into the lake when we were here last. Look, John, I'm sorry. John stopped the young man from speaking. I'm not the one who needs your apology, Len. I know that what happened just now was insane, and I realize the mood flipped 180 in an instant. But you can't just come out and accuse people of something they didn't do. Brandon had a witness. I know Sammy's family. The Waiha'ahas are good, quiet people that don't like the limelight. It took a lot for that kid to speak up like he did. He probably won't speak another word until we all pack up and leave. John relaxed his posture. I appreciate you saving that little girl, Len. I will talk to her and find the truth about exactly what happened. But for now, I need you to carefully choose the next words you say to Brandon Alberts. Len looked to the side. I'll apologize to him right now. Nope. John stopped the young counselor. You'll allow Brandon a moment to cool off and give yourself a moment to think as well. At lunch, you will apologize to everyone who was on the dock for shouting like a raving lunatic. Then, in front of everyone at camp, you will apologize to Brandon. Clear? Yes, sir. Len felt like he was shot back to 1974. Only this time, Kavika was nowhere to provide shelter or wisdom. He took a deep breath and tried his best to emulate the man that left such a big impression on him. Okay, Len. Let's take care of the group and check on little Miss Mercy. His thoughts continued to torture him. What if I didn't see Seth or Burden throw that girl from the dock? What if there is something wrong with my brain and it's creating these fantastical delusions that Henry told me all about? Len took his team on a small walkabout around the shore. Then after some time, he brought the group back to the Kane's cabin. Len yelled, Andy's in charge, as he retreated out the front door. A random voice called out, Who's Andy? Len made his way around the side of the infirmary where Yvonne sat in astonishment. Dude! Hey, how's little Miss Mercy? The young man glanced through the screen-covered windows. Yvonne grabbed Len by the arm and spoke softly. She's gone, Len. Oh no. Len fell to his knees with a far-off look in his eyes. Little Miss Mercy? Gone? Why couldn't I have gotten to her a few seconds faster? He started to feel as if he needed to throw up. He was in no way even a small bit like Kavika. He felt like a failure in every sense. No, not little Miss Mercy. What? Yvonne threw Len's arms down. Dude, her parents took her. Yvonne could see Len snapping out of his stupor. Dude, you thought she was dead? Len stood up and wiped his face, moving past the embarrassing scene he had just created. Yvonne, I'm so sorry about what I said down at the lake. Yeah, you really need to explain yourself now. Spill the beans. Yvonne wasn't letting Len go anywhere until he explained himself. I'm not even sure what the heck happened, Yvonne. I need to apologize again for not being able to tell you what occurred today or even what happened back in 74. It's a complete mess up here. Len swirled his fingers around his temples. The young woman grew impatient. First of all, stop saying you're sorry and chill the heck out, dude. Yvonne helped Len up to his feet and confided, I need your help with something. Len looked at Yvonne and replied, Anything. Yvonne pulled Len into the nurse's office. I'm trying to keep my calm right now, Len, so I need you to explain what happened here when Seth committed those murders. The young man sat quietly as he tried piecing together the events without coming off as a mental case. Seth didn't kill anyone that night, did he? Trying his best not to take things Yvonne presumed personally, Len asked how she came about that theory. Is that what Brandon told you? Brandon didn't tell me jack, dude. Yvonne took offense. I wouldn't trust anything he tells me anyway. So why is this so important right now? I don't want to talk about any of this. It really isn't something I like to dredge up. Len pressed his fingers together. I'm more concerned about little Miss Mercy anyway. Yvonne growled. This concerns Mercy, and it concerns me too, dunce. Len settled himself and observed the young woman looking to confide in him. Wait, did I miss something here? What happened, Yvonne? She didn't know how to start. You see, I asked around about you and Brandon and what happened here with the other counselors, and they had some very strange tales to tell. I couldn't believe some of the things they shared, so I assumed they were all having a laugh at my expense. But now I know why Uncle John didn't tell me about what happened. I still need to hear it from you, because what I saw at the dock cannot be explained, and it's freaking me out. Len was now just as confused as Yvonne. Maybe you should tell me exactly what happened at the dock. No. Yvonne held her cheeks in her hands. You need to go first. Len shrugged. I don't know what it is you want me to say. I have spent a lot of time after that night trying to tell myself that what I saw was in no way real. Oh my gosh, so the stories are true? Yvonne's hands moved over her eyes. Pat just returned to the medical cabin and saw the couple in the middle of something heavy. Yvonne, is everything all right? The young camp counselor shot up and ran from the office in tears. Bewildered at what just transpired, Pat cast her gaze at Len, who sat there with mixed emotions. "What's the deal, buddy?" It was Mercy. We were both worried about her safety. Len stood up. "As long as the little miss is okay, I just wanted to come check on her, but I understand she has already left. I think Mom was more affected by the incident than Mercy. Hopefully she'll make her return." Pat tried her best to comfort Len. "I hear you're the one who fished her out of the lake. I'm sure her parents will want to meet you." "Thank you, Pat. I better get back to my group." Len made his way out of the front door of the infirmary and thought, accidents do happen, but what happened here today was in no way a mere accident. After lights out, Len snuck over to the Wahine cabin and tapped on the window nearest Yvonne's bunk. Within a minute, the form of a young woman quietly emerged from the front door. Yvonne sat on the bench next to Len, sniffing from a runny nose. She smelled sweet to Len, like pakalana. Her wet hair glistened in the light of the moon, and her eyes still had some pink in them. "I'm so sorry I didn't come clean earlier, Yvonne. The trauma from that night and what my mind created make it nearly impossible to come out and say exactly what happened all those years ago." Len tried his best to keep a low volume while expressing how serious it all was. Yvonne looked up at the sky and sniffed once more. "Just, please tell me what you thought you saw. I don't care if you think it was all in your head or all make-believe. I just want to know exactly what it was you experienced. There's something off about all of this. What I saw, what happened to Mercy, I need answers." Len intertwined his fingers and looked between his knees at the dirt below his feet. "The last night of camp, I was chased up the forest trail." Len pointed off the grounds, toward the P.E. Level Point Scenic Lookout Trail. "Seth Padrina and Burden Alberts chased me all the way to the top, hoping to hurt me, or kill me. I don't know what. I hid in a bush, and when they ran past me, I heard the sounds of—" Len stopped speaking. Yvonne looked at the troubled man and placed her hand on his back. "Please, Len, what did you hear?" He looked at Yvonne's face. Her eyes reflected the stars, and he could feel peace returning to his heart. "Pahu. I heard the sounds of ancient drums. The other boys heard them too. It scared them. They charged back down the mountain to get away, and so did I. I saw one of the boys running way too close to the edge of the cliff, and before I could call out to them, Burden Alberts threw himself right over. His scream was so surreal. It's a sound that I will never forget. I couldn't believe he was gone, just as fast as that. Here one moment, then gone the next. My chest started to burn. The air that night was so cold. It was so very cold. I could feel my joints going rigid, and I almost fell a couple of times. I found a hiding spot to catch my breath and steady my nerves." Len looked at his audience of one. She appeared to be accepting of his account. That trust helped him to continue on his explanation. "I could hear the oli accompanying the beating of the drums. It was insane. It was unbelievable, and it was so very, very scary." Len paused a second, taking a deep breath, and carried on with his recalling. "I peed my pants right in that bush." "Oh, Len, I'm sorry." Yvonne held his hand in hers. "I could see a pair of legs, glowing pale, in the dark woods. They didn't go all the way down to the ground, and the parts that I could see were kind of transparent. I guess the sound my pee made caught the attention of the ghost, or whatever, and it came for me. I ran from that bush, and Kavika found me. He told me to go back to camp, and he was going to find the other boys. I could see them clearly now, the night marchers. They were coming down the mountain in a straight line. An invisible force lifted me from the ground and began choking me. If it wasn't for Kavika, I would have died. He pulled me free, but he was taken in my stead. He would still be here today if I hadn't run up that damn trail into the path of the Huaka'ipō." Yvonne's eyes were wide. "Don't blame yourself, Len. It wasn't your fault that Kavika was taken by the night marchers. If anything, it was Burden Albert's fault." At that moment, a scream of death came from the cliffs of P.E. Level Point. Both counselors jumped to their feet, staring through the darkness. Yvonne took a step closer to the unexpected shriek when Len grabbed her by the elbow. "No." His grip caused her to stop. That was the exact scream that Burden Alberts made when he fell off the mountain. Exact pitch, exact length, and exact spot where his body was found. Len's heart beat within his throat. "Okay, that's enough. Go back inside and lock the cabin. We'll talk more about this tomorrow when it's safer. Go. Yvonne ran up the steps. Len could hear the door latch and deadbolt click as he trained his eyes beyond the darkness. He swiftly made his way back to his cabin, where he found a half-dozen boys peering at him beside the windows. "Why are you still up?" The latch was secured and Len moved away from the entrance. Stu apologized for breaking the rules. "We're sorry, Len. We were just getting some tips." "Tips?" Len asked. "Yeah," Andy's voice cracked. "We wanted to watch the master work his charm, you know?" Andy tried winking. "With Counselor Yvonne?" "Okay, boy, sorry to break it to you, but nothing like that is going on." Len waved his arms in the air as if herding fish into a tide pool. "It's time to go to sleep." "Hey, Len," Sammy spoke up. The counselor stopped because he knew the boy was very shy. "Yeah, Sammy, is everything all right?" He shook his head. "What was that scream that came from PE Level Point?" Len's eyes popped. "You heard that?" Jeremiah looked up resentfully from his pillow and snapped. "Everyone heard it. Shh! Go to sleep." He hid his face back into his pillow. Sammy added, "Was it the night marchers, Len?" The hair on Len's neck stood on end. "No, Sammy. I don't think it was the night marchers. My tutu wahine, when she was one kid, said her house was built on one night matcha pat." Moku slipped out of his bunk and sat with the others on the floor. She remembered her grandfather would scold her father. No build the house over there. Plenty pilikia that." He still no listen. About a month after the house built, boom! All kind shaking and banging in the halley. Knock all the photos off the walls, the dog run away, and footprints burned into the floor. "Not even, Moku. You such a bulaya." Jeremiah popped his head up again for a brief moment. Pe'a retaliated. "Brah, try shut up and go back to sleep already." "Ah!" Jeremiah flicked his fingers at the group and flopped over to his side. "That's right." Pe'a pushed his nose at the rudeness of his bunkmate. "So when my uncle went ka'ena on Oahu, he remember seeing the kind torches moving down the ridge. And then he would hear the drums beating and went ole. 'Cause he thought he was going pupule." Jeremiah's voice cut in again. "All you guys pupule. The scream we heard was just one seabird. Go sleep." Pe'a snapped. "How about I put you to sleep, Jerry?" "That's what I'm trying to do, but you manapua mouths won't let me." Jeremiah slapped his pillow over his exposed ear. "I think we should all get some sleep." Len pointed at the bunks. "We've got lots to do tomorrow." Len decided to keep watch over his boys until daylight. He sat beside the door. Every once in a while, he'd look out the window at the wahine cabin to make sure it was okay. He pondered in the light of the moon. "I really don't know what to think anymore. I'm at a complete loss. Night marchers or Seth Padrina. Psycho killer or procession of murderous spirits. Evil, either way. How could I possibly protect these kids from the might of an undead army or the actions of a homicidal maniac?" The stress from these thoughts gave Len the adrenaline to stay awake through dawn.
I hope you enjoyed that small taste of Huaka'ipō up PE Level Point. If you're interested in purchasing your own copy, you can order it on Amazon.com, on paperback, hardcover, and ebook. Aloha.